and I'm going to go backward. So obviously, there was a green screen. This drone would not be able to fly backward toward MC Toon, who's also live streaming and who's also filming the drone. All right, now I'm going to come right back to us. All right.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the drone's shadow. I'll stop it right here. You see how close it is right there? I stopped it. It's super close, right? And then as it's going, it gets really far away. And I pause it again here in a second. It's going to be in the bottom right corner here. You'll see it. I do think that there it is right there. You see? It's super far away. That's crazy. That's got to be studio lighting, man. That can't be real. I do think that the other video I saw was misleading with the beeping. The beeping does seem to match up with where the dude was standing and everything. But you can't tell me that there isn't something wrong with these shadows. And the dude saying, "Oh, this proves it isn't green screen," as if he's like from the 80s and there's no newer way of making movies and making it seem like people are actually in places that they're not. I'm not here to say whether or not they went. I really don't care. All I'm looking at is the shadows. I think it's funny that people keep asking me like, well, where did they go then? Well, how did they do this? I don't know how they did any of it. As Witsit always says, falsification is independent of replacement. So just because we're pointing out Banjo here, I'm showing some of his screenshots. Just because we're pointing out that the shadows aren't matching up and the sun is too big and is having all these weird repeating things and all these anomalies, we're just doing exactly what all of these clowns have been promoting for years, to just look at the evidence and like I don't just same way that Globers say like, oh well, they used all this fuel, so if they didn't go to the moon, then where did they go? I don't know where they went. I'm just telling you, like what they're showing us isn't matching up with reality. So accept it, don't accept it. I really don't care. It doesn't matter to me. We're just still waiting on Witsit to release his telemetry data that he had to raise $350 for some reason, even though there's free programs to do it. And then, his terabyte of information or terabytes still have not been released. So just waiting, I guess.
Is there actually 24 hours of the sun itself, or is it 24 hours of daylight?
So it's 24 hours daylight.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you don't actually see the sun for 24 hours.
You do.
You do. Okay. I'll ask you real quick. Would I be able to use a drone around the camp or anything?
Drones are not allowed at the South Pole.
Okay.
You can use it at our Union Glacier camp, but not at the South Pole.
Okay, so at Union Glacier camp, you can use them. That's not a problem with the blue ice runway and all of that?
You can't use it at the runway. You can use it at the camp.
Okay, cool. So what I was kind of wanting to do was altered was the departure time, not the date.
Right. I'm glad you made that clear. Because I thought dates.
I mean, I assumed that meant they were leaving early before the thing. And I was like, wait a second. I thought you were going for
I did too.
If you look up in the archives, there was no storm, so that's another lie that Witsit told, that they had to leave early because of a storm, and a whole day early, but apparently it was a matter of hours. I heard Z say that Lady Blunt claimed that there was a midnight sun, but let's read what she actually said. She said, and so the midnight sun may be seen in the south. And she goes on to describe some sailors that played a deck of cards in the full sunlight at midnight. That wasn't necessarily proven, though. There was no images or, obviously they're not taking pictures back then with timestamps or anything. And then this, she says, then of course the midnight sun might be seen. Testimony has now been given. that it has been seen, and this testimony has been admitted in zetetic literature, thus proving, speaking generally, that zetetics are willing to learn and admit known facts. Whether we can explain these facts is another question, but as we have before intimated that whatever further facts we may find, which are proved to be real facts and not fancies, we shall admit, but while admitting them to be true, zetetics will never give up the primary fact that the surface of all still water is level. So it doesn't, to me, sound like she's 100% believing the eyewitnesses of the sailors. She might be the first anti-truther. Using words like might and may don't seem very definitive to me. Seems like she's more looking for, more hard evidence.
Saw the sunset northwest from where she was, and that was February 19, 2019. She was facing north. The sun was clearly setting on the northwest side of the ship, which was facing north.
Witsit tried making a big deal that they're so far apart from each other. They're 16 degrees away from each other. It's not far.
So he says it's 10 p.m. Now that's where our debunking of the TFE starts. You can see he says it's 10 p.m. Look at his shade behind him and Mount Rosman in the back. So we know he's facing north making this video because according to the coordinates that we have right here, according to the coordinates, you can see the compass. The red means north and white south. So you see where the camp is in the blue pin, and you see Mount Rosman in the back. So as he speaks, he's facing north with the mountain in the back. At this moment, when you see this picture, the sun is shining from the east, making this shade in front of the mountain towards the west. So we have another picture right here. You see again Mount Rosman in the back, the camp where he was filming, and the compass there pointing north, the Mount Rosman south behind the camp. Another thing, this picture here that I downloaded from the official website. You can see here, if you go and see the details of the picture, it was taken November 27, 2016 at 3:33 p.m. A very weird time to take this picture, 3:33 p.m. But that's the time it shows right there. So now you compare Chico Matos, his shade, where he is claiming to be 10 p.m. and you see the time of the picture and the shade behind the Union Glacier Antarctica sign. You see the shade is completely the same, right? And he's claiming to be 10 p.m. Now let's compare here. If you look at this, the 24-hour sun time lapse, you see the sun there. You have to believe that 10 p.m. he took a picture in front of the mountain with the mountain illuminated, and in just 2 hours the sun went back behind the mountain. So we know this whole thing is doctored. The sun is CGI. The shade of the mountain is probably coming from the east, just like this picture right here. That's the real position of the sun coming from the east. And they take advantage of the time. Perhaps they took this image right here at early in the morning, 7 a.m., when the shade was still in front. And they edited the sun in the back, claiming to be midnight. So this is the whole thing right here. Since they were there for 34 days. But you watch the video, not a mention, you go to the website, you read through pages and pages, trying to find anything about a supposed 24-hour sun, and you can find nothing. They were very excited to talk about little things, about the amount of ice they dug, but nothing about a supposed 24-hour sun. That's one of the things that we explained. The sun rises northeast and sets behind the mountains. Now let's compare both footage from the Brazilian journalist when she was arriving in February 2019, and she documented the sun setting northwest, and let's compare to the footage by this Brazilian officer taken in May, where he also describes the sun setting northwest. Remember that arriving at the Brazilian station, they come from the south, and that's the tree stump that I told you guys, and they call a mountain. And when he describes the sun setting, that's the mountain right there. And those are the footage of both of them in Antarctica. The first one on the left, the lady, Luciana Garbin, taken February 19th, 2019 at 8:45 p.m. And the footage by Wagner Cunha, Sergeant Wagner Cunha, on May 21st, 2017 at 1 p.m. So the sun is right at the horizon, and he was explaining the sun was scratching the horizon. It was going to set just behind the mountain on northwest side. So he's not the first person that describes this movement of the sun, which we
is that I did a whole stream with Owen Benjamin. You see my breath the entire stream. You just see my breath the whole stream, and the reason is because I was drinking hot tea. And so that honestly is why you were able to consistently see my breath, because my lungs and throat and mouth were constantly being introduced to liquid, and it was actually warm liquid. You could see my breath like the entire freaking live stream with Owen Benjamin. And people were like,
He was on for less than 10 minutes and doesn't show his breath half the time.
And I understand why someone maybe wouldn't just believe that because you need to see yourself. Well, come down here, man. It's like 35K. I wouldn't have spent that. Hopefully it's not cloudy. We got like 7 or 8 cameras that filmed it around the clock. But once I started leading up to the trip, I could tell, like, wait a minute. Like,
now they're thinking about everyone they spiral.
what's all that? What's all that right there?
Fuck, they have to just own that shit and just own it.
All right, I don't want cussing. Look at all this. What's all that breath, bro?
Where's all the breath when you were talking, bro?
Why would a truther be doing this? Why would have any pictures with any of them? I met one of the people that were there to go run a marathon while we were still in Punta Arenas, because many of them stayed in the same hotel that we did. And I actually have an entire interview with one of the guys telling him about Flat Earth. That Jonathan, the documentarian guy, actually recorded, and we were mic'd up. I tell him, like, I didn't just go take pictures with them. When we went to Antarctica, we get off the plane, and then they had brought in the marathon group, right, as they're bringing us back towards the camp, because they got on the plane that landed taking us. The marathon runners got on that plane and left, right? So they were there right before we got there. But I did meet some of them in the hotel. They were all in the same hotel. I talked to a few different marathon runners. So there's that. So I do have video evidence that I was, in fact, with the marathon runner in Antarctica, though. No, it's a complete lie.
So he just said he was in Antarctica when he met this person and interviewed them, but at first he said that he met him in Punta Arenas or whatever. So which was it? Does he not remember where he met the marathon runners? Because I thought they were getting on the airplane. They came to pick them up to take them back. So once again, stuff's not adding up.